Terrible milestone. As of this morning, more than 2 million Americans have tested positive for the coronavirus. More than 112,000 of them have died. The head of Harvard's Global Health Institute said yesterday the U.S. death toll could reach 200,000 in September. The day-to-day number of cases is rising in more than a dozen states compared with 2 weeks ago. Manuel Bojorquez is in Miami Beach, which marked a new phase in reopenings yesterday.
You haven't had a phase on the recovery?
Yes.
After nearly 3 months, Miami's beaches are open again, even as cases in Florida continue to rise.
I got sanitizer.
Is it the right time to reopen the beaches?
You know, we've been thinking about that a lot, and I tend to be more cautious than most.
Dan Gelber is the mayor of Miami Beach. He says if crowds grow too large and cases spike, the beaches could close again.
We want people to, realize that this pandemic is still here, but we've got to open up our economy. We've got to give people the opportunity to get out there.
But as state reopenings and large protests continue across the country, there are concerns about a second wave of outbreaks. Earlier this week, 16 states reported an increase in average new COVID-19 cases compared to 2 weeks ago. At least 14 states have seen a rise in current hospitalizations since Memorial Day, including Texas, where hospitalizations jumped 42%. In Arizona, hospital capacity is at 83%. State data shows the usage of ventilators, ICU beds, and intubations at all-time highs.
This virus is pretty much doing what it's going to do on its own. I mean, we are not driving this tiger, we're riding it.
Dr. Michael Osterholm is the director for the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. He says while it's too soon to tell how much impact reopenings are having, he's still urging caution.
I don't think we yet have found that middle ground that is going to provide for the most public health protection, but at the same time also supporting the public's right to enjoy everyday life.
As state governments navigate the reopening process, the federal government says it's moving ahead in funding 3 vaccine trials scheduled for the summer. They'll involve roughly 30,000 people. Dr. Anthony Fauci said this week he still believes a vaccine could be available by early next year. Gail?
Manny, thank you. An ending to a story nobody wanted to hear. Family members of a brother and a sister missing since September now say the mystery is sadly over. They confirm the remains of 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan were found on their stepfather's property in Rexburg, Idaho. As Jonathan Vigliotti reports, Chad Daybell was arrested after police recovered the remains on Tuesday.
We are aware that those remains are the remains of children, which we believe is an aggravating factor.
A stone-faced Chad Daybell appeared before a judge over video conference Wednesday, facing felony charges for willfully destroying or concealing human remains. Those remains, unearthed on his property by police and the FBI, were identified as his stepchildren by the families of JJ and Tylee, saying in a joint statement, "We are filled with unfathomable sadness that these 2 bright stars were stolen from us."
They've been holding on to the slimmest of hopes for so long, praying that by some chance these kids were alive in some compound, someplace.
Rich Robertson is a private investigator who worked for the family. He points out that this was the second search of the property, and this time authorities somehow knew where to look.
That either came from some people, sources, or from some electronic surveillance of some kind, or some combination of those things.
Medical examiners will conduct an autopsy to determine how and when the children were killed. They were last seen in September, shortly before their mother, Lori Vallow, and Chad Daybell married, and then suddenly relocated to Hawaii without the children. Vallow was extradited to Idaho in March for failing to produce the children. She remains in jail on $1 million bail, a fate now shared by her husband.
And police are looking into the couple's doomsday beliefs as a possible motive here. They're also investigating the suspicious deaths of Daybell and Vallow's former spouses. Both died in the months leading up to their wedding. Anthony?